Hey, hi, and hello, I'm Israel, and welcome to my Windrunner Spire Dungeon Journal. Spire is a linear 4-boss dungeon that throws a little bit of everything at you. Be ready for poisons, bleeds, and plenty of interruptible damage. As with all of the guides in the Dungeon Journal series, we'll be focusing more on individual mobs and their abilities rather than specific routes, as those will evolve significantly over the season. Starting with our first packs, Dutiful Groundskeepers have Sheer Armor, a passive that reduces the target's armor with each melee swing. This stacks, so tanks need to watch mitigation and health. It's going to get dangerous quickly. The Restless Steward spams Spirit Bolt, fires a shadow bolt at a random player, needs to be on a kick rotation. Soul Torment applies a long shadow dot to a player. This can be dispelled, otherwise healers just need to keep healing through it. The Spellguard Magus has Arcane Salvo, which channels arcane bolts at players in rapid succession. Not interruptible, so healers need to keep players from falling too low on health. The Spellguard's Protection creates a protective bubble, reducing allied damage taken by 99%. Tanks need to keep mobs outside of this, and range kicks need to be used on any casters to ensure they're not hanging out in there. After this first room, tanks will have to choose to go north or south. Most in the PTR favor going north first to the Emberdawn, but until routes are fully stabilized and people know what they want to time lust around, it really doesn't make a difference, as you'll need to clear both wings before unlocking the final boss. For the sake of this video, we'll start north. Territorial Dragonhawks cast Fire Spit, which channels repeated fire damage at a single target. Bolstering Flames applies a fiery absorb shield and increases haste. This is magic purgeable, otherwise DPS you kind of want to focus that down. The Spindleweb Hatchling has Acidic Demise, which releases a nature puddle on death that deals periodic damage. Creeping Spindlewebs have Acidic Demise as well, and then also Poison Spray, which sprays poison that deals nature damage and applies a nature dot. Poison cleanses will go far here, as this can deal significant damage in higher keys. The Apex Lynx has Puncturing Bite, deals physical damage and applies a physical bleed. Ferocious Pounce targets 3 players with circles and then pounces for AoE damage. Targeted players need to spread to avoid killing allies. This does target healers and tanks. Scouting Trappers have Freezing Trap, which throws a frost trap that can stun the first player it hits. Loaded Lashers have Fungal Bolt, fires a nature bolt at a player. This is a kick rotation. For Dispersal, releases spores that apply a nature dot and awakens nearby lashlings. Tanks, you want to make sure to grab aggro for those lashlings quickly before somebody accidentally dies. Clear all the way down to the first boss so you can start the RP for Emberdawn. Emberdawn is a light bullet hell boss with consistent raid damage, so make your healer's life easy and watch your feet. Flaming Updraft targets multiple players, applies a fire dot, and creates a fire puddle on expiration. They also make tornadoes that launches players hit by the central updraft. Melee, please don't stay on the boss. Bait this to the edge of the arena, you'll thank me later. Searing Beak is a tank buster that deals heavy physical damage and applies a strong fire dot to the tank. Burning Gale channels a firestorm that deals periodic fire damage and pushes players. You need to dodge Emberdawn's frontal cone, the tornadoes moving around the area, and puddles. Healers need to be ramped up for rot. Flaming Twisters ejects fiery tornadoes that deal fire damage, stun, and knocks players away. Fire Breath breathes a fire cone that deals heavy fire damage. That's the fight. You're going to be rinsing and repeating through these stages pretty regularly, but as long as you can survive the rot, you'll be just fine. Interact with a soul conduit that appears after Emberdawn's defeat to be teleported back to the entrance. The next set of mobs are all undead themed. Starting with the Windrunner Soldier, they have Precise Cut, which deals physical damage and reduces healing received. Tanks, you're going to be wanting watching mitigation and CDs through these next few pulls. Ardent Cutthroats have Poison Blades. It coats their blades with poison and applies a stacking nature dot. This is very dangerous. Cleanses and healer ramps are important here. This is a high priority interrupt. Burn everything to stop this from going off. Shadow Riv teleports to a player and strikes with physical damage. Fervent Apothecaries have File Toss, which throws a poison file that deals nature damage and creates a ground puddle that needs to be dodged. Devoted Woebringers need to be pulled with intention. They spam Shadow Bolt, which needs to be on a kick rotation, but also have Pulsing Shriek, which shields itself and emits a periodic shadow damage in a large radius. You need to break the shield before you can kick the spell, so DPS, you have to focus this when it starts going off. Flesh Behemoths have Brutal Chop, which just deals a heavy physical blow to the tank. Mitigate or CD it. Fetid Spew launches bile that applies a nature dot and creates fetid bile puddles. The dot will damage anyone near afflicted players, so stay spread throughout this. The RP for the next boss is triggered by proximity, so make sure to have someone run ahead to go ahead and get it started. The Derelict Duo is a 2-boss encounter with pulsing AoE damage and large area denial that expands throughout the entire fight. Multi-boss fights come down to one of 2 flavors. Either they share a health pool or they don't. These two don't, and it's very important you kill both as close to the same time as possible, so DPS, you have to be watching who you're focusing. Latch starts off with Splattering Spew, which targets all players, spews a nature bile that deals AoE damage, and applies Splattered, creating a gunk splatter. Everyone needs to bait the puddle to the edge of the fight, as the area will quickly be covered. Gunk Splatter is the large puddle that's dropped, and it applies a debuff that increases damage taken from splatter and spew, so the longer the fight goes on, the more dangerous it is. Shadow Bolt is periodically spammed by Callus, and it just needs to be on a kick rotation. Bone Hack is the tank buster. It's a chained repeated physical strike, and it deals a fair amount of damage, so mitigate Initiate and imbue CDs here. Curse of Darkness applies a curse that causes dark entities to fixate on multiple targets. DPS, you need to switch your priority to these entities and get them killed quickly before someone dies. Now the main gimmick of the fight is Debilitating Shriek, where Callus teleports away and channels Shadow Shrieks that deal periodic damage and increases damage taken. While this is channeled, Latch will prep Heaving Yank, where he throws a hook that pulls the first player hit and triggers Heaving Chop. The player targeted with Yank needs to move to the other side of Callus, and everyone else needs to clear the way, as Heaving Yank will stun her, stop the AoE damage, and pull her to Latch. And that's the entire fight. Keep mind of where you drop the puddles so you can zigzag across the balcony, and healers need to stay confident during the AoE burst. Click the bow that appears and you'll once again be teleported to the start. Quite a lot of new mobs on the way to the third boss. First is going to be the Swift Shot Archer, which has Shoot. It just shoots a physical projectile at a player, as well as Arrow Rain, which fires arrows in the air that land in a small AoE circle. Since nothing here can be kicked, they can be pretty hard to displace. Death Knights with grips or just good line of sight will be necessary here. Phalanx Breakers are the mounted units here, and they have Break Ranks, which charges in a line, dealing physical damage and knocking players away. Interrupting Screech releases a sonic screech that interrupts spell casting and deals heavy AoE damage. DPS, you're going to want to keep an eye out for that one. The Haunting Grunt has Intercepting Charge, which charges a tank and deals physical damage. Generally, these can be stopped by just staying in melee range. It's when you move too far away that they trigger the charge. The Lingering Marauder has Gore Whirl, which spins in place, dealing rapid physical damage in an area. This is going to move with the tank, so you have to mitigate through it while everybody else steps away. The Loyal Warg has Shred Flesh, which applies a physical bleed and a healing absorb. You can see quickly that this stuff can become dangerous in large numbers, so make sure you're watching your CDs tanks. The Spectral Axe Thrower has Throw Axe, which throws an axe dealing physical damage. Much like the archers before, these can't be kicked, so displacements will come down to good CC or line of sight. The Phantasmal Mystic is our last new mob, and they have Chain Lightning, which strikes a player with nature damage and jumps to nearby targets. This should be kept on a kick rotation just to minimize damage.
Flame Nova is a heavy-hitting fire AoE, and healers, you're gonna have to make sure that you're ready for it.
Ephemeral Bloodlust enrages allies, increasing their haste. This can't be interrupted, so players need to behind defenses if a lot of ads are in the pull. Go ahead and clear this area up, and we can get ready for our next boss. Commander Kroluk switches from single target to cleave fights throughout the encounter, and has a few other fun mechanics that helps keeps everyone on their toes. Rampage channels rapid physical strikes on the tank. This chunks, but it's manageable so long as healers are paying attention and defensives are used. Reckless Leap leaps to the furthest player, dealing physical damage and applying a physical dot. This will happen twice in one cast, and since it's always the furthest player, it can be baited. So the first person takes it should be a slightly heavier DPS, and the second person should be the tank running away from everyone. This will also drop rocks from the ceiling, so everyone needs to dodge the circles that appear around the arena. Intimidating Shout. Circles will appear around all players, and they need to stack with at least one other person to avoid being feared and having a dot applied. Rallying Bellow deals physical damage to all players and summons a war party. This is a big AoE, so healers need to be mindful. Tanks need to gather all the ads from the war party ASAP, prevent anyone from aggroing, and priority needs to shift to killing the ads. There is always a caster and a handful of other mobs, so I would focus that caster down quick. Blade Storm fixates on a player and spins, dealing periodic physical damage to all in range. The targeted player needs to bait him away from the main fight. Now, if you wanted, you can put him in the path of other mobs to deal damage to the trash, but you have to make sure that you're not also hitting your party at the same time. And that's the fight. Watch your feet, don't kill your friends, and be mindful of the baits, and you'll do great. Interact with the last portal that appears to be teleported in front of the final boss. The final boss of Spire is a light bullet hell with an AoE mechanic that requires smart positioning by players. Arrow Rain fires arrows that deal nature damage and creates turbulent arrows. Dodge the circles and avoid the arrows on the floor. Bullseye Wind Blast fires a nature blast that creates billowing wind. Players need to use the arrows from Arrow Rain to jump over this mechanic, and then dodge the circle before the arrow explodes. Squall Leap deals nature damage and applies a stacking nature dot that can be removed by turbulent arrows. Tempest Slash is a tank buster that deals heavy physical damage, applies a physical debuff, and is a knockback. Make sure you aren't thrown into an arrow that'll explode on an ally. Gust Shot marks players with wind arrows that detonate, dealing nature damage, and this is how you're going to cleanse the storming soul fronts. Bolt Gale channels a frontal that deals rapid periodic damage to a player. This moves with the players. Whoever is targeted needs to hit a defensive and stand still to avoid hitting allies. And that's the fight. A good amount of bullet hell mechanics, but everything's very advertised, so it's not too hard so long as you're paying attention. I hope you guys enjoyed the guide. If you did, make sure to leave a like and subscribe down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Ciao.